Hi, my name is Olivia Mason, and today I'm going to be discussing the lesson plan project. So first, we have to start with the problem, and the problem is the teacher that I observed, whenever she would assign her students to go back to their tables and sit with their classmates, and she would give them an assignment to work on or a project to work together, the students would be distracted by one another, or they would be talking, or sometimes they would either be fighting, so they would not be getting their work done. So some general information to describe the setting of this. The students that we are going to be talking about today are in the 3rd grade, and so their ages range from 9 to 10 years old. So around this time they're exploring what friends they want to have and what qualities they want to have. And so of course they're going to be talking. And also in this classroom, there's an equal number of male students to female students. So here's some solutions to the problem that the teacher or I can use to help solve this problem and make sure that the students are getting their work done. They can use Quizlet, WebQuest, or online games. For this lesson plan, we're going to use Math Playground. So the first one, Quizlet. Quizlet is an online tool that the teacher can use, and this allows students to have different study methods. So for example, right here, you can see that there's flashcards, learn, write, or spell. So there's 4 different ways that the students can learn the materials, and that gives them a good way of learning what ways that they obtain the information best. And then students can also play games, and with these games they can play them with their classmates, and so this just gives the students a fun chance to be able to play around on this software system, but also still learn the information. And then at the end of the lesson, whenever the students have felt like they have learned the information and they know it off the back of their hand, they can be tested with this because there's a test option. And the students will be very involved because there's just many options that they can do. They can play against each other in games, but they can also play against each other in class with a software system called Quizlet Live that they can put up on their smartboard and use their Chromebooks to play. The second one is WebQuest. WebQuest is a website that the teacher can make, and it can introduce a new topic to the students. Some teachers use this whenever they will be out of the classroom for a while. And in this, the teacher can assign the students to watch videos or look at different pictures that she has posted online, or she can have them research more information online. And so in this, students can also work at their own pace. And as you can see right here, a WebQuest that I have made, I have uploaded a video that I had my students watch, but then I also provided pictures. And it's also very easy, and the students are able to access this because it has multiple little tabs on the side that explains everything in detail for the students. The third one is online games, and in this instance, it's Math Playground. And so these are just games that students can play. They can play against their classmates, or they can also play against computers, which is just it's just a software playing against them. And then to win the games, the students have to get the most number of answers correct and also have the best timing. And then in this, they can choose what game they want to play, but they have to make sure that they click 3rd grade first. But they have all these different options that they can play. So step-by-step procedures with Quizlet. The students will first be assigned to the topic. They have to make sure that they have a Quizlet account and that they're following the teacher or myself. And then once they go back to their seat, they can begin to study the material. So they can use the 4 options to study whichever one best suits them and their learning style. And then if the students are still having trouble, the teacher and I can help assist them and also give them more information to what they are seeking. And then the students can work on this material during their free time or the time that it's assigned to them. So for example, Quizlet can be used for math, and so instead of just using Quizlet during their free time, they can do this during their time that they would be learning about math. And so students can work on this for around 2 days if they're going to be tested on the material, but it just depends on if they're going to be tested or graded over it, and it depends on how long the students spend. And then the students can also play Quizlet Live on their Chromebooks. And in this picture, you can see that the class is working together as a group. They're very involved, and the teacher's involved, and so it's just a good tool that they can use together. Assessment for Quizlet, like I said, the teacher doesn't have to take a grade, but she can also take a grade for the test that they complete at the end of the Quizlet. Or if they're playing Quizlet Live, she can do class participation, and she can follow a rubric that she has made up herself or has found online. But a teacher does not always have to take a grade for this, and she can just make sure that the students are doing what they're supposed to do, and that they've made a Quizlet, and that they have studied the material and became aware of what was being asked of them. So step-by-step procedures with WebQuest. WebQuest will be sent out to the students. I will give them the link for it, and they can also use this whenever a teacher's gone. And so whenever they're logged in, they're able to work at their own pace. They can go how fast or how slow they would like, and they'll be able to work on this for multiple days, because if a teacher assigns a WebQuest to the students, most likely the students have not heard what the teacher will be discussing in the WebQuest. And in the WebQuest, the students will have an assignment. So for example, here's a worksheet that I would have posted in the WebQuest, and it will be printed off to where they need to work on it. And they will also use their computers to do additional research over the topic, and then they will come back and answer the questions that was given to them. And then once they are finished, they will turn in the work for a grade. So some assessment for WebQuest. A teacher can obviously take a grade for this over the worksheet, or even after the worksheet has been turned in. She can quiz them or test them over the material that they were supposed to have learned. And so, or she can use participation points. For example, as long as the student had turned in a worksheet and completed the WebQuest in the timely manner and fashion, they are able to receive participation points. But a teacher does not have to use this as a grade. They can also use this and discuss this as a class. They can go over the answers together as a class and even ask questions when they are all finished. So step by step for online games, the students will have their own Chromebook, and they'll get out and they'll start playing the games that fall into the correct subject and topic. For instance, math, and then around the time, if we're talking about multiplication, they will need to play multiplication games. They will need to pick the right grade level, and they can pick any game that they want to play as long as it meets the criteria, and then they can play this for a day and then move on. Assessment for online games. A teacher does not have to take a grade on this because the students will be playing this during their free time. The teacher can watch the students and make sure that they're playing their game, but she can also challenge them to try to get into like third, second, or first place. And then once they have completed that and played the games long enough, then they're able to stop playing the game and move on to the next game or even topic. So some state standards for Quizlet. These state standards, these are kind of the introduction and just explanation of explaining numbers as a whole. So this can go with Quizlet because students are studying and just being introduced to a new topic. And so, for example, this is math, and these state standards can go along since they are being introduced to a new topic. State standards for WebQuest. These state standards can be used because it is easier to find a worksheet like this one, for example, that falls under the state standards of talking about the relationship between multiplication and division. And so these two state standards that I have went over already, they don't just necessarily have to be used just for one of the tools. They can be used for both and vice versa. State standards for online games. This just talks about how different numbers can be multiplied together and how some of these games, as you can see right here, up in the top how there's a single-digit number multiplied by a two-digit number, and these state standards just talk about how you can be able to do those type of math problems, but all of these state standards can be used together for each of the tools. Some other standards that I can use for the students, but they're not state required, is an empowered learner, and this can be used for Quizlet because it develops learning strategies and just learning in general, how the students learn best, and so they're able to do this with the different study methods in Quizlet. For WebQuest, the standard for a digital citizen, this is just being respectful of working online and how to use the right behavior, but also be safe when using the games online, and just respect the internet and the people who have made the games and the WebQuest, and just learn how to be acting in a professional manner online. So some standards for online games. This is Computational Thinker. In the games, students might be able to see patterns or just designs that they're able to look at, and they're able to analyze them and figure out the right answer in a correctly timely fashion. And so this is just good for the students to be able to think outside the box in these games. And so to end with, these methods are solutions that can help any teacher facing the problems of students being distracted. It is good for the students to just be involved and engaged with the teacher, but also one another. And so these are some awesome tools that are free and that the teacher is able to use. But there's also other tools that the teachers can use. So there's Powtoons, there's other recordings. For this example, this Screen-O-Matic recording can also be used. And so as long as you do some research and what is best for your students, you will always be able to find free and easy tools. And thank you for listening and watching my presentation today, and I hope that this has expanded your horizons on what you're able to do to keep your students involved and engaged and happy. Thank you again.